Hello, ladies and gentlemen, debaters, future debaters, coaches, former coaches, future coaches. Good evening. So I have the pleasure to be your chairman for this homecoming exhibition debate tonight, or as we informally call it, the Beat the Board. So I'm not debating this year, so it's great. So as chairman, I would like to begin by thanking Ecole Alsacienne for hosting us tonight. And before the debaters take the floor tonight, it is my task to make a long story short. I need to remind everyone of the long and arduous and frankly, just long-winded rules of FJ debating. We love them, So, who are the actors of this story? Well, we have four speakers from the government tonight. Confronting four speakers from the opposition. A round of applause for the opposition. These 8 debaters are under the direct scrutiny of tonight's timekeeper, Alessandra. So the elaborate tales they will share, the speakers, will be 6 minutes long, right? 6 minutes. During their speech, the speaker may be interrupted by a member of the opposing team by a point of information or a point of order. And what are those? Well, a point of information must be a question. It is asked by standing up and placing one's head upon one's head, or just with one's hand outstretched. The speaker may or may not accept the point, but they have to take at least one, and is encouraged to take 2. If a point is accepted, it is included in the timing of the speech. Points of order, on the other hand, are asked directly to me, the chairperson, and they regard the procedures and running of the debate. Their aim is to ensure that the rules and underlying principles of courtesy and decency are respected. If a point is asked, time will be stopped while I decide on the grievance. Now, the first and last minutes of each speech are protected. No points of information are allowed during this time. The beginning and the end of the unprotected time will be signaled by Alessandra with the sound yes. And at the end of 6 minutes, you will hear the sound. At this point, the speaker is expected to finish their speech. If they do not do so within 15 seconds, Alessandra can be as loud, can ring, can thump, can shout as much as possible until the speaker finishes. Now, since you, dear audience, are members of this house, you are invited to interact with the speakers. Indeed, if you agree with what a speaker is saying, show your support with a loud hear, hear. Hear, hear. Let's do it again from the audience. Hear, hear. Thank you. If you disagree with the statement, show your disapproval by a bellowing shame. Shame. Very good. So, the story is almost over. In order to start the debate, let's now welcome our 2 teams, the board and the vets. So proposing tonight's motion, the board will be represented by the Prime Minister, Helena Moulin-Smith, their second speaker, Shanica De Silva. I don't know why I'm saying this because it's written right behind, but their third speaker, Arij Guerziz. And the government whip will be Decuypère. Opposing tonight's motion, the vets will be represented by the Shadow Prime Minister, Antonia Raquiman. Their second speaker, Félix Delissen. Third speaker, Sara Haxhi. And to conclude the debate, the opposition whip, Félix Delissen. Now, to decide who the winner will be, we have a great jury tonight, former winners, finalists, semi-finalists from Assas, Université Paris, UPMC, Polytechnic, Delphine Corso, Arij Guerziz, and Nathalie Amoutou. I think we all agree are the Avengers of FDA judging. To guide them through, we have 5 equal criteria to follow. You have argumentation, which concerns the content of a speech, the research done for it. Is a speech consistent, pertinent, and logical? Then you have form, and how the content is put forth. For instance, timing, structure, the use of rhetorical devices. Then you have teamwork, which pertains to the team's cohesion and strategy. Engagement, or how well a team interacts with the opponents. And finally, star quality, the elusive but specific je ne sais quoi, which we all love. Now, at last, let's turn to the teams and to the motion which is submitted to you this evening. This house would make the long story short. And I'll call on the first speaker of the government, Madam Prime Minister, Helena.
Ecole Alsacienne, thank you so very much for hosting us. Government, opposition, bellperson, chairperson, jury members, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and welcome to our story. Today is a day of national celebration. I don't know if you've been reading the news lately, but now we have finally reached a 60-day term for a Prime Minister, which is a record, okay? So you'll be relieved to know that not only do you have an institutionally sound government, but you also have a mentally sound government that will give you one heck of a story. Yes, this is a wonderful homecoming evening, and I thought that I'd reveal my secret identity. I am also on the side a best-selling author who goes by the name Shakespeare's. I have published the one and only long, extended, prolonged, drawn, now lingering, interminably long story, also called a book. And it started out in 1992, it won the Snore Award. On Amazon the next year, it became a top seller, but not in books, it was a top seller in the doorstopper category. 2010, it won a Guinness World Record. Fun fact, it's the only book known to be able to stop a bullet. But finally, it's in 2022 that I got some real recognition. I won, listen carefully, the Special Book Award, the most successful and never actually read from beginning to end award. And I'm very proud of this. How did it happen? Because no one read it. To be honest, even I didn't read it. No, I owe the success to the fellow members of my government. They've given me different forms of communication, and to be honest with you, shorter forms of communication. It's time to come to terms with reality, dear opposition. People learn and are inspired by stories and ideas without reading the original work. So we want a change of policy. Short change, but big difference. We, the government, would make the long story short. Now, we'll explain what we mean by stories, what we mean by short, and why would it be so sweet. I'll then explain how this policy will be implemented. Story, basically we want it to mean everything. Whatever exists for your entertainment, for your information, for your evolution. Short, get your minds out of the gutter. Short in complexity, short in difficulty, short and sweet. And why? Well, I hate to break it to you, but your attention span as human beings is not amazing. I mean, think of a famous speech, what do you remember? Nous sommes en guerre. And for the more mature of you in the audience, and I include myself, Au revoir de Valérie Giscard d'Estaing. No one? Oh dear. Beyond attention problems, we've also reached a paradox in modern society.
On that point now,
Yes.
is it really humans' attention span that is a problem, or shorter and shorter TikToks that make our attention span shorter?
I think our attention span and how short it is can be seen the minute we leave the womb, so it's not a TikTok thing, I'm afraid. We're addicted to quick, easy, accessible, simple information. That is true. But we also look for productivity and efficiency. and we're tired of having to read between the lines. What we want is simplicity, we want honesty. We embrace this. We will make the long story short. This means that we will provide a version with just the basic facts rather than a lengthy explanation. Now hear me when I say a version. We will make every long story available in a short version, and this will be mandatory for your benefit. Think about it. You'll all benefit from a 3-minute recap, no matter how long the television series, no matter how long the book. 3 minutes is all you need to understand.
On that point,
Yes?
isn't the failure of your book in terms of reading a problem, a problem by saying
Have you never quoted a famous book without reading it? I think we're all guilty of this. Shortened. I mean, think about it. Imagine like you're an indecisive foodie. I think of someone very close to me here. How advantageous would it be to have a shortened menu where you just have to choose between that's tatin and that's tatin? You'll have a shorter work and school week. 4 days. I think some of you revising the bac blanc would be very happy to have only 4 days. And I think it would be really important if we made the current terms of the US Supreme Court justices a little shorter as well.
Hear, hear.
So, my story has reached many more people thanks to these existing kinds of shorter modes of communication, and I am so happy to be able to introduce you to them this evening because they are my wonderful members of government. Our famous content creator, Shanica. She's helped give my story visibility through TikToks. Thanks to her, you won't waste your time, you won't waste your other people's time, you won't waste my time, which is great, and you'll have free access to information. You'll have especially an honest version of a story. And then we'll have a wonderful Arij, who is my Wikipedia page. Everyone can have access to free and simplified information, and thanks to her you'll always have an intelligible and accessible shorter version of my story. And finally there's a special surprise guest, Marine. She is the most articulate doorstopper you'll ever meet. She will finally convince you that the long story is always better short. To make the long story short, ladies and gentlemen, please adopt this motion.
Next speaker item called the Leader of the Opposition, Antonia.
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Ecole Alsacienne, for hosting us tonight. Eminent members of the jury, who I know would rather watch the whole movie and not just the trailer. Dear chairperson, I know you're eager to listen to the juicy gossip we will present tonight. Esteemed timekeeper, who will hopefully not have to cut me short. Members of the government, it's been how long since your last debate? Shame! Fellow members of the opposition, we are here tonight to find out the truth. People of the House, let the story unfold, and good evening. My name is Anto, and today, you, the opposition, and I have a very important mission. We need to condemn the guilty and let the truth and justice prevail. With this aim in sight, I must address some of the comments made by the government. Prime Minister, your rushed definition of the motion leaves me wanting some more substance. Where is the hurry? So we've been talking about a short version, but what nobody has addressed so far is the fact that you said short version. That implies that there is another one, But we're not talking about a version. We're talking about taking the story, shortening it, and that's it. That's what you have. It's not having the long version, having the short version, and choosing between them. You have to miss out on the long version. Now, let me define the motion according to us. So the motion is, this House would make a long story short. In order to understand such a phrase, we need to understand what each of the terms means. Firstly, we are using the terms long and short, which of course are not absolutes. That means that what is long to me might be very short for someone else, like the government speeches, for example. Or, I mean, do you really think 5 minutes with your lover go the same pace as 5 minutes with your tax collector? Because I really don't think so. So next, let's talk about a story. A story is not you telling me you need to go to the toilet. A story is not me telling you it's raining outside. A story is something enticing, something that has appeal, and it's not just mere facts that have no purpose to be told. A story is something that is being told by someone and that has an evolution. That is to say, it has a plot or a scientific development. Therefore, when we say make a long story short, what we mean is shortening, summarizing a story that already exists in a long, more developed version. Which is just preposterous in my opinion. I mean, imagine they had told Harry Potter in one 200-page book. I mean, I can't even imagine. Now, let's get on with the story that concerns us today. I'm sorry if I seem a little anxious or nervous, but a crime has been committed.
Shame.
And it's up to us today to find out the truth. With a motion like this and what I'm saying, I'm sure you must be expecting 12 angry men. Well, let's just say people because we are indeed in the 21st century. And women can indeed be jurors, you know. But nevertheless, I'm sorry to tell you that in this economy, the best we could do is 4 angry roommates.
Here.
Yes, please.
Have you ever read the blurb behind a book before?
I don't know what the blurb behind a book is, so I'm sorry. I don't know the answer. So, let me explain our situation. Tuesday, at 12:13, a crime takes place in our once peaceful residence. One of the most awful crimes that could ever be committed. Much to my dismay, there's been a theft.
Shame.
The guy over here, Felix, stole and ate my ice cream. So let me start at the beginning. I live with 3 people.
I'll have one, madam.
Okay, yeah.
Aren't you bored?
No, I'm not. I'm very sorry if you are. I think I'm being funny. Well, let me continue. I live with 3 people. Felix, also known as the thief. Sara and Faris. And we've been doing so for 5 months now and without major inconveniences. So now you might be wondering, how can I be so sure that it was Felix who stole my ice cream? Let me present you the evidence. First, no thank you. Precedence. The accused has already been known for eating other people's food. In fact, no thank you. He ate Farah's mother's homemade cookies that were shipped all the way from Tunisia. Second, motive. He and I, we share our love for the same ice cream flavor. Bubblegum. Third, every other member of our apartment has an alibi. Sara was working at her office during the time of the theft, and Faris was doing some charity work. Fourth, ear witnesses. I was just chilling in my room when I heard a mysterious noise, and at first I didn't dwell on it. But after analyzing it, I came to the realization that it was Felix's squeaky old door opening, just in time for him to commit the theft. I wish I had thought more about it, and maybe caught him in the act. And now, I must leave the accused to defend himself because, well, we need to hear him before we all can agree on his guilt. He will tell you about his point of view, and he will do so with extreme detail. Because to him, long stories are more interesting and fun, and shortening them would only kill the suspense. I mean, we all know he did it, but let's hear him out. Next, Sara, our advocate of truth. She's the one who insisted we do this trial because according to her, it is not possible to shorten a story. Because you wouldn't actually be telling the story, you would just giving false insights into another one. So it's vital for the truth to do this trial. And finally, Fares, who, as the peacemaker of our apartment, will have the last say in this deliberation process. So please, dear jury, don't try to shorten our story. Punish the guilty thieves. And please deny this motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I now call the first speaker from the government, Shanica.
Dear Chairperson, you know me all too well. 3 minutes version this time, sorry. Charming bell person, hey up. Amazing judges, my love for you is short and sweet. Opposition, hi. Dearest government, we're short, but we're fierce. Yeah. Great audience, let's meet outside after the debate and have a short one. Ladies and gentlemen, short and tall, fat and slim, good evening. Hello, it's me, Shanica, famous TikToker. I dance in 30 seconds, I cook in 30 seconds, but I'm mostly famous for making long stories short. Cinderella, she found her Prince Charming. Snow White, she found her Prince Charming. Pocahontas, she saved her tribe and found her Prince Charming. And I'm here thanks to my most viral TikTok video. The one where I summarized Shakespeare's 1,054 pages long book. And I'll let you check my account at time value money, but to make it short, Declan, the president of the FDA, is murdered. And Borith is the murderer. Nothing at all. But before explaining how we, the government, would make long story short, let's get back to a few things that was said by the shadow prime minister. Madame Antonia, every story must have a short version available to benefit. Harry Potter, you talked about a crime. Well, Harry Potter in 200 pages? That's the crime. It should be a 30-second video. Your story was so long that I would just have read the last page of the book and found out who was the murderer. Short version doesn't mean that it takes less time to write and has less quality. As our dear author said, making a long story short is to provide a version of a story with just the basic facts, rather than just giving a lengthy explanation for something. And we would implement that by 2 means. First, imposing a format and a standard, and second, by imposing honesty between ourselves. No, thank you. To make it short, we want people to be respectful of your time and intelligence. No, thank you. So, how do we impose a format and a standard? By timing videos and speeches. For instance, here it's 6 minutes and not 6 minutes 30. No, thank you. By telling an author that they have a maximum number of words to write. No matter the medium, the purpose of making a long story short is to keep the attention span. Indeed, if you want to keep it, you gotta make your message short and impactful.
Point of information.
Yes, sir.
You're doing TikTok all day long, so you're kind of unemployed. So how is it that you want to save time?
Making TikTok videos is a job. Thank you. According to a study conducted on TED Ed videos, 5% of viewers will stop viewing videos after 1 minute, and 60% will stop watching after 2 minutes. TED Ed is now making long videos short by using the most important minutes of the talk. And Anish will further develop this point because I gotta cut it short like me. No, thank you. Indeed, the government doesn't want you to waste your time and its time as well. Because time is precious. Time can be used for more meaningful matters. No, thank you. You could spend this time with your loved ones. Time is the one thing you cannot control in your life and don't know how much you have left. We need to use it wisely and acknowledge that it is a limited resource. Another study recently showed that 91% of staff admit to daydreaming in long meetings. That same study says that people can waste time at work productivity up for 2 hours a day for interruption, such as socializing with their co-workers. Yes, sir.
Did you find this stat on TikTok?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, because we all have a Martine. She's the talkative co-worker who will give you every single detail of what she has done during the week. And it's like, Martine, stop talking. Some of us have real jobs. This TikTok isn't going to film itself. No, thank you. And Martine lies, and she gets lost in her lies because she gave way too many details. This is why we, the government, would impose honesty, which brings me to my second point. So how do we impose honesty? First of all, it should be something that everyone should follow. Indeed, sticking to facts avoids manipulation. Let's take the Southern strategy. In American politics, the Southern strategy was a Republican Party electoral strategy to increase political support among white voters by appealing to racism against African Americans. Sorry, that's important. Republicans emphasized new issues which included traditional and family values. School prayers, abortion, crime, and more abstract concepts such as taxes, state rights, etc. They changed their approach to attract voters who believe these perspectives and create a more powerful party. No thank you. They were successful as the South became a Republican stronghold. And if you want to know more, you can follow my second channel. At Time Value Money, Racism is Bad. They basically buried all their racist intentions into a verbal diarrhea of nonsense. They were dishonest as they didn't go straight to the point. And this works as well for basic human relationships. Take a second and think about the 5 most difficult sentences to say in your life. I love you, I miss you, I need help, I'm sorry, I'm angry. These few words are more meaningful than any explanation. These few words could ease pain so easily. All in all, as l'Olympique de Marseille would say, allons droit au but. So by imposing a format and a standard, but mostly by being honest, we would make a long story short. The shorter the better. Time and honesty do matter. Hashtag, please adopt the motion.
I think we all know and love Martine. They're great. I now call on the first speaker from the opposition, Félix.
Outstanding members of the jury, who I hope won't give the victory to the team just listening to their introduction, because that's what happens when we make a long story short. Conscientious timekeeper, given their position, don't forget to time the members of the government on 1 minute instead of 6. Dear chairperson, who knows more than anyone that when we reveal the debating winner, we keep the suspense until the end. To make a long story long. Dear members of the opposition, let's make our story long so that the members of the government made by TikTokers can follow up. Members of the government, sometimes I agree with you. We should have definitely made your speech shorter.
Shame!
Ladies and gentlemen, let the story unfold, and good evening. I think everybody here knows who I am. I've been jailed many times for stealing ice creams. I know I am a bad boy.
Here, here.
But this time, I swear it wasn't me that stole the Antonia's ice cream. Indeed, I was rebuting the fallacious argument of the members of the government. They said that we waste time when we make a story long. It is not. We waste time when we make a long story short. Let me give you an example. When you're in a college, you learn that spending time on your phone won't get you far. When you're in a high school, you learn that going on social media will be addictive. When you're in university, you see Shanica in the streets because she did too many TikToks. It took so many years to just understand that you shouldn't follow the Shanica's path. not belittling them, but I say that they could make greater and longer TikToks. As an alleged robber, I will show you with two arguments that we should not make a long story short, because one, making it shorter makes it less enjoyable, and two, making it short kills the suspense that is in it. Before beginning, I have a question for the girls in this audience tonight. Is it a good sign when it is short? Let me it is not. But we are not here to talk about But we are not here to talk about boys' complexes. Hopefully we are not the best partners of this government. That surely must be really dissatisfying. That is why we will first prove that making a long story short makes it less enjoyable. There is less pleasure in a short story, because there is less of a good thing. I can see it in your eyes. You like to be entertained. You need to be entertained. You want to be entertained. But even the definition of our leader of the opposition, a story is a tale that has an interest, that brings appeal. So we want more of it.
On that point, sir?
Go ahead.
Is a web class really that appealing? Don't you want a faster version of it?
What did I say when I said that Shanica ended up on the streets? So you see, because she did too many TikToks. So we want more of it. The more I have of it, the better it is. Let me give you a random example. When I hear the lovely voice of Shanica, no thank you. When I hear the lovely voice of Shanica, it always seems too short. I want more Shanica. We want more Shanica.
On that point, sir.
No thank you. That's why we make so much a long love story with unexpected plot twists. Because we are entertained for a longer time. Let me give you an example. Some very strange people even go to the cinema to watch La La Land. How weird. Another one. How I Met Your Mother is a TV series based just on how two people met, but it has more than 300 episodes in it. That's a hell of a lot more than just the summary, they met eventually, end of the story. With short stories, there would be no romantic movies to cry our eyes out with a bottle of ice cream in our hand at night. No thank you. No, everything would be summarized by, they lived happily ever after. What a show the members of the government are trying to give us. The same goes with the story your relatives give you. When you catch up for the first time in 5 years with your friend that went hunting the orangutan Galapagos, you don't say, please make it short, I have to brush my teeth in 2 minutes. No, you want the full story, the full picture, because the story is enticing. Moving on to my second point. Making a short story kills all the suspense in it. Indeed, making it short gives way too early the unraveling of the story. I have one more question for the audience tonight, and it's for boys and girls this time. Do you like to be spoiled? No, you don't want to know that in season 2, episode 5 of Les Feux de l'Amour, Victor kissed Nikki. No, thank you. In many ways, spoilers and short stories are alike. They blow up the whole interest that was in the story.
Shame.
The short story is the murderer of suspense. The short story is the slaughterer of interest. With short stories, the summary of Game of Thrones would be everybody dies. Fast and Furious, that's viril men with tattoos that are driving fast cars. Oh wait, I'll give you that one. The summary of Emma Bovary would be, she did not like Charles that much after all. The artist Banksy is a weirdo that paints on walls. So, and we would tell the story of Caesar, this man really liked to conquer. So I think I will wrap it up here. What a dull version of reality this is. Short story is even an employment killer. Facts. Would we make a long story short, there would be so many people queuing in front of Pôle emploi. Politics, commentators, journalists, commercials, lawyers, writers, producers, Shanica. FDA board members.
Oh, shame.
Indeed, making a long story short can even be dangerous. Cops are trying to do me because of an ice cream I didn't even steal. So now you see, dear jury, please reject this motion. Thank you very much.
I both have unraveled and been spoiled. And I'll call on the second speaker from the government, Arij.
Dear Chairperson, I'm very disappointed that you didn't tell me before. We could have done all of this in secret and nobody would know that we killed him. Dear person, thank you for coming here. It's a pleasure. Dear judges, thank you for being here. The opposition, thank you for wrapping it up, as your second speaker said. Dear government, thank you for being here. Very lovely girls. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. You have finally arrived at the most visited website for learning. You have arrived at the Wikipedia page for this long story, where you can find all the answers you need and the most important details to know about the story Helena wrote if your professor decided to give you a 1,054 pages long story and you want to sound smart between your other students. Now, before I start, let me give a conclusion of all what the government presented so far. Our talented author explained how, by simply implementing a short story for every long one, we are having a larger impact and making your life easier. Our TikToker showed how it's going to be done to save your time and be more honest about your emotions and feelings. The government just was so obsessed with Shanica, they didn't give any arguments, so... Here. And I, your favorite Wikipedia page, will demonstrate to you how a shorter story is the most pedagogic option, whether you are a writer or a reader.
Here.
On my first point, if you are a writer, shout out to all the professors here, this is for you. Here's a secret. The best professors for all the students is the one who gives their short story, the conclusion of the last session, in the beginning of today's session. So exactly like I did, giving the conclusion of all the speeches today, and you didn't. This will result in less space on our notebooks and time, since summaries are quicker to write and read and cheaper to get into print. You, my dear professors, ask the students to write a conclusion at the end of every project work and an abstract at the beginning of every report or a thesis. Not only because you will only read that, but also because it will help the student organize their ideas, and then will come and present a 3 years project in 20 minutes. Yes, please.
Is all the evidence in the first 300 pages superfluous then?
Yes, they need conclusion. Thank you. When you have a project or an internship or a book to write or a lecture to manage, you always start with a short version, which is the plan. And you end up with a short version, which is the conclusion. And that's what really matters. When you're presenting your work, thank you. When you're presenting work, attention is all you need. And I'm sorry, you're not getting that with a 3-hour speech per speaker. Generally speaking, and as Shanica already explained, people are not going to be able to focus well longer than 30 minutes. And this is why writing a presentation, a short story, is better for organization, engagement, and of course, the magic effect. Yes, please?
If making the long story makes you not concentrated, why didn't you just stop at your first minute?
Oh, I didn't say that it does not make you concentrated. I said it makes more effort. That's why professors ask you to do it. So it takes more effort to make an abstract, and you concentrate more, but it's easier for the readers to read it later. Before I move to the second point, we remind you that if all of you present gave $1, Wikipedia will keep thriving. On my second point, the shorter story is better for the reader or the listening. Have you ever been in a classroom listening to the professor for 4 hours without understanding what he's saying? Well, after the lecture, all you have to do is go to YouTube and find a 5-minute video of the Indian YouTuber who saved my semester, and here you go! Ladies and gentlemen, if articles had no abstract, aka short story, my PhD would take 7 years instead of 3. Invented in the 18th century, the abstract provides the most important results and step of any scientific book or article. And as a reader, that's a lifesaver. But this was first used at meeting points, which we're gonna implement the motion in this way. That's why our last surprise guest will give you the meeting points, that means the conclusion of all the debate, so you don't have to be concentrated now, it's okay. In 2019, a study from the Technical University of Denmark found that the collective attention span is still narrowing, and it's simply because there is so much information that's answering your point of information. It's not because we have less human cells or whatever. No, thank you. It's because we have more information, we're learning more, we're developing faster. That's why we need more time. As a Wikipedia page, I know that the human brain is wired to give attention in breast of study. And since your brain cells matter to us, we are here to save you. The attention span also varies on the duration, on facts like the age, the subject matter. That's why you're more concentrated now than you were before. And the environment, of course, and the learning logic. To conclude, as a reader, we want to know the most important, not the whole story of who ate your ice cream. We want the short, quick, and fulfilling story. To sum it all up, short story means less complicated and better to understand, meaning more inclusive, and you don't have to be an expert. We give it all to you. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight the opposition is trying to manipulate you. The shorter, the better. Pedagogic does better. Please vote for this motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I now call the third speaker, or second speaker, from the opposition, Sara.
Dear Ecole Alsacienne, thank you for lending us this beautiful space and these impressionable youths. Beautiful chairman, looking at your face is like watching a movie you never want to end. Charming timekeeper, your bell always reminds us that time flies when you're having fun.
Here, here.
Members of the government, always in a rush, like an anime girl going to school with toast in her mouth. Have you ever stopped to smell the roses? Wonderful jury. I know you have all taken your time studying the art of debate. So I know that just like me, you value justice more than saving time. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of a long school day or work day, instead of cutting it short, you decided to come here. So I promise we will make it the best part of your day. Dear roommates, the innocent ones and the one who is not, thank you for being here with me today. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I will start with some rebuttal. Now the government, in their very last words, says that we are manipulating you. However, they have a clear conflict of interest, because if you drop your long books and go to TikTok, Shanica makes money. I also think, let's go back to the Prime Minister, because their definition was as much of a mystery as the TikTok algorithm. I think that if you have 5 versions of the same thing, at the end of the day, it ends up being longer, like it takes more megabytes than having one long version, don't you? Also, I feel that the government wants to have their cake and eat it too. You have to choose. Like, I don't think that our wonderful FDA would choose a motion that everyone can agree with, such as, it's nice to have shorter versions sometimes. You have to choose. Stand up for what you believe in.
Here.
Another thing, even TikTok went from 30 seconds to the option to make 3-minute videos. Your own platform disagrees with you. Wikipedia, I donated €2, you're welcome. And your pages are really long. Now, the government goes on and on about things that, honestly, in my opinion, are really content issues. If your students are bored, it's not because the YouTube guy will make it shorter. He will explain it better.
Here.
Another thing is that you keep quoting studies, but how long was the study? And the government's answer was to have like specific lengths, like word count and time length, etc., etc. I will say it in TikTok speak so you understand. It's giving dictatorship.
What about the limit of points that you have on all your scientific articles?
I think that is a very creative thing. So certain studies have more points and others don't. It's something that is decided by funding, by the researchers that are working on it. It's not a government-mandated limit. Anyway, now that I got it off my chest, let me introduce myself. I am the roommate in charge. Ever since Félix stole his first piece of bread à la Jean Valjean, I have been on a mission. We the people deserve for our food to be safe. And I am the Kamala Harris that will see to that. I have gained knowledge of my targets. I know that Antonia has a book club on Mondays at 18:55 but has not gone in 3 weeks. I know that Fares went to the museum last week when it was really Dungeons and Dragons. And I know that Félix did it. He is a known food thief, a serial killer, if you will. Now, I'm here to convince you that he did it, but I'm also here to convince you that, making a long story short, we wouldn't do that for 2 reasons. 1, it's unrealistic, and 2, it's dangerous. For my first point, dear government, even at your big age, you are naive if you think that you can make a long story short. One of the reasons why we wouldn't is that very often you just can't. Take Antonia, for example. She wants to get on with it and put him in jail, but the truth is more important than saving time. Now, I know that you're itching to say, no, we only mean get rid of unnecessary fluff. But my question is, who are you to decide what is unnecessary? Think about it. Have you ever wanted to make a cheesecake and you have to scroll through 3 pages of random stuff about the poster?
Yes. Should the trial last 20 years or 2 years?
The trial should last for as long as we don't have an answer. That is why, for example, the Golden State Killer was caught at the age of 95. I think the families are happy that it lasted as long as it did. Now, you would think that those random words on a recipe are useless, but they aren't, because without them, 1, those authors cannot copyright anything, and 2, they wouldn't be able to finance it. And cheesecake recipes would be gate-kept by grandmas. We don't want that. So, no thank you. When they're trying to make things short, they are threatening the existence of the things itself sometimes. Now on to my second point. Wanting to make a long story short is dangerous. There's very often a reason why it is long. Imagine a med student telling their professors, you know what, just show me 1 episode of Dr. House and I'll be good to operate. That would be a disaster. Maybe the government agrees to that, and that is the consequences. Another way of making a long story short is dangerous is that it makes us prey to our biases. Take the number of newspaper headlines that read last year, person dies after COVID vaccine. And then you open the article and it turns out that they were shot or they were run over by a car. And this is the crux of the issue, ladies and gentlemen. The eagerness to make something short and easily digestible and that appeals to a vast audience often leads us into false narratives, into misinformation, into fake news. Because brevity is the soul of wit, but the mother of misunderstanding. And I can even prove that with stuff that will happen today. Short headlines can lead to hate crimes. Abridged scientific journals can lead to misinformation and bad science. I'm sure that you're happy that scientists can read the whole study and not just the conclusion. All this is due to many factors. We as humans are biases and are biased and things are complicated. It's our duty to give it our best shot and not just want for things to be short. And that's why, even though I know that he did it, I put up cameras. Because I wanted to go the extra mile and have the truth. So now, let's look at the footage together. And just as I thought, wait, well that is not who I thought it would be. What is this treachery? Et tu, Fares? I'm sure that he will explain himself and why he decided to leave his good reputation for a life of crime. But in the meantime, please oppose the motion.
takes for the government, I call the whip, Marie.
Ecole Alsacienne, thanks. Chairperson, hi. Belt girl, Dane, jury. You like the scoliosis? Is it good? Position, shade. Government, here. Audience, I promise there will be snacks afterwards. Good evening, everybody. So, Helena promised a fancy guest, and ta-da! No one. Yeah, I know you're lying because I'm Helena's book and story of my life. No one has read me, so look, I know I'm overwritten. I have a bit of some long descriptions in the beginning. We don't really need to know all about that guy who stole that one loaf of bread or whatever, but I get better. I get deep and emotional, and yet no one is willing to engage with me. And that's really what it comes down to. You know, it's good that you like long stories, it's good that you think they are great, but if no one reads those stories, do they even exist?
Here.
Antonia, you keep talking about speed. We're not saying that making long stories short is simple and quick. We're saying it takes time, it takes focus to take out the most important parts of the story to make a quality short story. Indeed, it's easy to rebut what we're saying if you think what we're saying is this house would make long stories bad, but that's not the case.
Here.
Then, our favorite, baddest boy, very humble, Felix, seems to be very obsessed with both Shanica and size. I assume you're the fan account at Ice Cream Thief, maybe. To what you said about how long stories are more enjoyable, how size matters, I would only say that it's not the size of the boat, it's the motion of the ocean.
As a book, people love War and Peace. Are you sure that you're not just bad?
Here's the thing, I don't actually believe people have read War and Peace. You're lying. I know this. So next, Sarah. You seem to think we have a conflict of interest.
Yes, here.
Okay, so I got it right. No, we don't. We actually want to make everything more accessible to people. You seem to think that we want to have our cake and eat it too, but also you don't want us to be a dictatorship. We don't want to police people. If they want to write long stories, they can, whatever. They should just know that they have to make a short version available for everyone.
Here.
You seem to have chosen your favorites, and this is true for all of the opposition, by the way. The people you want to defend, the people of the land, wealthy people who have time to engage with stories and write recipes on the internet. Is that really who we are supposed to stand for here? Because I don't believe it is. It's not about saving time, it's about using time in a meaningful manner. Yes?
Would you rather every single person knew the basics of surgery, or your doctor knew surgery exactly?
It's not really a story. Surgery. It's not a story, it's like cutting people. As you well know, there are two sides to every story. And not to bash you over the head with what we said, I mean, I'm over 1,000 pages long, so I might as well be a murder weapon here. But let's summarize the fact laid out about the government and summarize. God, I wish there was some sort of story-related pun for summarize, but I don't have it right here. Helena explained very clearly why our new strategy towards people actually having to engage with stories was making stories short. We want to provide bite-sized versions of every story with just the basic facts. The queen died. Done. I'm just giving a lengthy explanation. Oh, how did she die? Who's coming to the funeral? We don't care. We choose to embrace our short attention span. There's a fly here. Then Shanica, our viral 17-year-old TikToker, told you all about the importance of honesty and respect, of being an open book. long stories want to take away one of your most precious resources, time. They have nefarious intentions because they are trying to sell you something, like ad space on recipe websites, or bamboozling you, or numbing your intelligence by inundating you with mindless details. Then Arij, our trustworthy Wikipedia page with all the citations you need, showed that being able to interact with long-form media is not easy for your brain, or not accessible to anyone even. It's only accessible to privileged people, and we're not supposed to be experts on everything. So conciseness is the key to giving people an okay understanding of most topics. Because arming people, and I mean everyone, with general knowledge is a way to keep them against being manipulated. Long stories are a way of gatekeeping strategic topics in our society. Long stories make politics, economics, incomprehensible to most people, and we need to make it accessible. We're told to over-explain everything, overthink, overwrite, over-intellectualize, over-consume. Calm down. You know, I might just be an overly long book without a beating heart or opposable thumbs. But I could have been giving you so much more had I been honest and pedagogical with you all. Everything you need to know about me is in the bottom of the last page of my book. It's a deep, profound truth that everyone should get to hear or discover with a TikTok dance. And so today I am giving you the moral of my story. Let's not tiptoe around it. God, I failed again. A doctor motion.
To close tonight's debate, I call the opposition whip, Perez.
That was long.
Shame.
Dear chairperson, the rumors actually say that you're actually a board member. But tonight, I felt it in my heart you were a true challenger, as you listened carefully to our long stories. Dear chairperson and dear audience, I am really sorry that tonight they have tried to corrupt your innocent souls with their short stories. Please don't listen to them. Dear judges, thank you for being here and supporting this long evening. Dear members of the House, it's a true honor to debate against very strong veterans. I'm a bit disappointed, however, that the legendary storytellers are sponsored by TikTok. Dear members of the opposition, Jesus, mates, chill, it's just some ice cream. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment of truth has arrived. Good evening. You're all wondering, right? Looking at me with your blaming eyes. Was I really the traitor? Am I the one who took the ice cream out of its place? You'll get the full story in a minute. Don't worry about it. You, on the other hand, oh boy, you should worry, as your arguments are going to melt down. First, what a surprise that a team that says and that praises short stories spoke for over 20 minutes to prove that. That's a bit weird. And to be honest, something else is a bit weird is that Sara has put some microphones in the room and I've been using it to listen to all of your speeches. So I kind of have an idea about what happened tonight, and this led me to the following conclusion. Tonight, we had 3 points of contention. The first point is over the definition. What is actually a story? What's actually a short story and what's actually a long story? The second point of contention is fun. What's fun and what's not? And the third point of contention is honesty. So, you seem to mistakenly think that when you have a long story, you have to listen to it, as a continuum. When you have a long series, you don't watch the whole thing at the same day. You watch an episode a day, an episode a week. But it doesn't stay the whole day. Yes, please.
Isn't it amazing that this debate will be available on YouTube, where people can watch it on ×2 speed?
Well, to be honest, that's going to be a bit weird. And to be honest, they could also watch them not 5 speed. So. And you actually don't understand the difference between the fact of telling a short story and telling short blocks of a long story. Short blocks of a long story make a long story at the end. It doesn't make it short at all. Yes, please.
Why do you think ratings of long TV shows keep decreasing after a certain point?
I don't think that they keep decreasing. Second, moving on to the second point of attention. You mistakenly think that shortening stories make them more fun, while we take our joy in the original ones. Congratulations. Good point coming from someone who prefers watching TikTok on socializing with people. That seems so fun, to be honest.
Hey!
So really, tonight you weren't just the bored team, you were also the boring one. Felix has showed us, on the other hand, that we all love long stories. They are intriguing, they are enticing, they are interesting.
Shame. On that point,
Do you not like Titanic, he said? Didn't you always ask for another episode of your favorite series? Do you not like the long story of life? Don't you want pleasurable experiences to last forever? No, thank you. You've mentioned the example of Harry Potter. Do you think it would have been legendary if it was a short TikTok? No one would remember it. Just like Shanica's TikToks. Apparently, however, the members of the government don't do this and prefer doing duck faces over 3-second videos.
Hey!
The world the government is trying to create is a world where no passion, no patience, a world where everyone is as creative as a banana stick to a wall, a world where everyone has the concentration span of a fish. They also accused you, the bright minds of this fine institution, of not having enough concentration span. I think that's true. No, thank you. What a shame that this team prefers highlights over a good soccer game and quick reviews over reading a good book. Tells about how much they know about science and culture. Nothing. On the second point, the government says that shortening a story makes it more accessible and even claims that it is more honest. They use the example of non-experts, which are unable to understand. Now, I do understand that there are a lot of youngsters in this room, but because of the members of the board today, I know that the average is above 40. So we're all capable of understanding things. Yet, they seem to be using the same old trick. People don't understand. People are like children. And to be honest, this seems like a way of controlling them, especially Shanica's TikToks.
Shame.
No shame. We, on the other hand, assume our position. Sarah highlighted the fact that it is dangerous to shorten the story because you take some details out of it. And who are you to take them out? Haven't we all witnessed some headlines that altered reality, or some thumbnails on YouTube that doesn't actually speak about the content of what is going to happen after? So, to be honest, shortening is dishonest. In the end, it is true, I was the one who took the ice cream. I just put it in the freezer, Antonia. If you weren't so rushed, if you didn't have the attention span of a fish, like the government wants you to, you would have just there and find it out. So I think for a good reason. People should investigate, people should have patience and passion, people should read the long, full story. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Whip. The debate has finished on the side, so I will invite the jury to retire, indicate long leaps, but within a short amount of time.
Here!
I believe a room is reserved for